So there are two features in Media Cloud that I want to highlight in this video. One is the crop tool and the other is the image editor. I think both of these features are very, very cool features in Media Cloud. I think the image editor flies under people's radar because it requires MJIX and dynamic images to work. If you don't have either of those features enabled, then you won't see the image editor at all. You'll be stuck with WordPress's default image editor, which we're actually going to run through very quickly here just so we have a baseline of comparison. And you'll see the dramatic difference between Media Cloud and WordPress here. So this is a standard WordPress install. There's Media Cloud is installed, but none of the features are turned on currently. So I'm just going to upload an image. And then we'll come in and we will edit the image. So this is WordPress's default deal. You can do some very basic things with it. You can flip the image, you can rotate it 90-degree increments, you can resize and scale the image, but you can also crop it as well. Now the crop editor is pretty primitive, all things considered. It's also a very strange user story going on here. So to crop the image, you draw this rectangle however you want it. And then you got to press the crop button again, which isn't necessarily very intuitive, and then click save. When you do that, the crop will be applied and you'll see our crop here has been applied. So that's the basic gist of WordPress's image editor. It's very basic. You can rotate, flip. If you want to go back, you can restore to the original, which is pretty handy. So yeah, that's that. So let's turn on Media Cloud. We'll jump into that and we'll compare and contrast, and I'll show you some cool things that you can do with it. So we're going to jump over here to Media Cloud. We're going to turn on our cloud storage. We're going to turn on MJIX, and we're going to turn on direct uploads, and then we'll turn on the crop tool. All right, so those things are turned on. We'll come back to our library here. Actually, one thing I want to make sure is on with the direct upload tool. I'm going to actually pin that there so I can get to it easy. Direct uploads here. Detect faces. Okay, so there are actually 3 different ways that you can detect faces in Media Cloud when you upload images. The obvious ones are recognition and Google Vision. The second, well, or third, if you're treating those separately, is MJIX has a face detection that's pretty good. Not as good as recognition or Google Vision, but pretty good. And then direct upload, we have a JavaScript library that will detect faces when you do a direct upload. And it's actually pretty good. It's almost as good as MJIX's. So if you're not going to use MJIX, if you're going to use dynamic images, which is like I would call that an MJIX Lite. It does a lot of what you'd use MJIX for: dynamic image generation, cropping and resizing on the fly, adding effects, etc. But is built into Media Cloud, so you don't need an MJIX account to use it. It doesn't perform as well as MJIX. The quality isn't as good as MJIX, but it's good enough. But you'll want to detect faces for doing, smart cropping or focus cropping. So we built into the direct upload JavaScript based machine learning face detection. So that's on, so we're good to go. I'm going to just come over here to the media library. I'm going to grab some files here. Now I'm going to grab like 10 of them just to show you how fast direct uploads are. There we go. Now direct uploads would actually be faster if we weren't doing the face detection, but that takes up a little processing power at the start. Now the nice thing about direct uploads too is that it's simultaneous. You can do, up to 8 simultaneous uploads versus WordPress's single one upload at a time. And you can just see how fast that just went, right? So With direct upload, you're skipping WordPress entirely and uploading directly to your cloud storage provider. Now, you do need Imgix or dynamic images to do direct uploads because you still need to generate image sizes and thumbnails and whatnot. And you can't do that if you're just directly uploading to S3. So, okay, we've got our uploads. Now let's, this is the same image that we started with when we're testing the WordPress editor. So let's just go through the crop tool first. I'm going to click this button here, and this is the crop UI. Now, as you can see, it's a huge improvement on the WordPress UI. We have all our different image sizes up here that are defined WordPress's built-in sizes, and then you've got sizes that are defined in a theme. And then you can use the image size manager that comes with Media Cloud to create your own sizes that are outside of your theme, and that can exist across theme changes and whatnot. And I'll show you the image size manager towards the end of this video because it's tied into the image editor and the things that you can do with it. These are all the different image sizes that we've got. And it works just like you think it would work. Right here is our kind of cropping canvas area. Down in the right, we have our preview, and up in the right here, we have our thumbnail. So I can come in here and I can just drag this around, and you'll see that my preview updates in real time as I drag around. I've got the nice guidelines that are using the golden ratio, so I can get some well-composed crops. Come down here, click on the crop image, and boom. Now, some sizes in WordPress are by default not set to be cropped. And what that means is when you define these sizes in WordPress, either in your theme or some other way, and you specify that it's not to be cropped, that means the image will then be shrunk to fit the dimensions of that size. So let's say we define an image size that's 512 by 512, and we say no crop. So basically, it's just going to take this image and it's going to resize it so that it fits within a 500 by 512, rectangle. If we said that the size was cropped, then the image would fill the 512 by 512, then be cropped. So the medium, large, and large are by default in WordPress not cropped, though you can crop them here. And one nice thing that you can do with this crop tool is you can actually turn off that aspect ratio, and you can do any arbitrary crop that you want, regardless of how it's defined in the image size. Now, your theme might not like this because it's expecting an image of a certain size, but it's available to you if you want to use it. It is there. So that's it. We've done our crops. We've used this cropping tool. Much easier than WordPress's for sure. A lot more intuitive for sure. So nice thing about the crop tool, though, is you don't need to use Imgix or direct images for that. I mean, dynamic images for that. You don't even need to use cloud storage. If you just wanted to use that crop tool, you could just install Media Cloud. Just turn on that feature, and it'll work with the standard WordPress way of doing things. So the image editor is next. We're going to come down here. We're going to click on the edit image, and this is going to pop open our image editor here. It's very similar to the crop tool in terms of look and feel and whatnot. This is our sort of canvas area. Up here we have all of our different sizes. We have our cropped image that we just cropped right there. We have an additional size here on the left called source image, and this is the actual master image that you uploaded. And this will become important. I'll show you a little bit later in the video why this is here and why you can apply effects to it. And then on the right, we have all the different options for applying effects and stylizing the image, doing watermarks, and doing some special kind of crops. So let's just go over these quickly, and then we'll get deeper into it. So you can do all the things that you can do in WordPress's editors. You can flip, rotate. You can do arbitrary rotations, which you can't do with WordPress's editor. So let's do a 44-degree rotation there. It's nice. Maybe we wanted to go the other way, and -45. Very dramatic. Let's reset that. We got an auto enhance, which is like auto levels in Photoshop, sort of, or automatic curves. It actually does quite a great job, depending on the quality of your media that you're uploading. And then you've got all the standard controls: exposure, gamma, color controls such as saturation. You've got some sharpen, which is very, very good. Does a great job. And then blur is another thing that it does if you need that for aesthetic reasons. And then the stylized tab is more sort of effectsy type stuff. You can do like a halftone, like a newsprint kind of thing. I think we call that the moire pattern. Pixelate, sepia for that old school kind of tint vibe. You can tint with the color as well for get some pretty cool effects going with that. You know, so that's kind of a nice little thing going on there. And then you can apply color borders and color padding and stuff. Watermarking is actually really cool and I think very useful for a lot of people. So let's just go over that really quick. We're going to need an image to watermark with. So I'm just going to upload a PNG here. I'm going to select that as the watermark. And you can see that it's way too big for this image. So we're going to come down here and we're going to scale it down to maybe 20%. That's pretty good. Then we can reposition it wherever we need to have it. And then alpha. And then we can use the padding to like move it in from the edge. So that's basic adjustments. Oh, focus crop. So by default, a crop in in WordPress is cropped from the center. You can also specify that the crop should happen from the upper left corner, upper right corner, bottom right corner, etc. One cool thing that Imgix does and Dynamic Image does as well is it lets you assign a focal point, and then any crop of the image will use that focal point. Now you don't want to use this on these sizes here. You're going to want to use it on the source image. And let's actually get into the source image and why the source image is here. And we'll get back to the focus crop. So let me just reload the page so that I can reset everything to where it was. And let me edit the image. So when I apply effects to the source image, unless you're displaying that source image somewhere on your front end, which you likely won't be doing because this is a high-res image, and you just kind of want to keep it around so that you can make versions of it to display, you know, different sizes, different places, etc. But what we can do here is we can apply effects to the source image, and then any subsequent image size that's pulled from the source image will take those parameters with it. And that sounds a little confusing, but I'm just going to show you what we mean. So first thing I'm going to do is maybe turn on auto enhance. And let's actually make this sort of a stylized monochrome. So I'm just going to bust down the saturation a touch. And then maybe up the gamma, or maybe some exposure as well. Oh, that's way too much. All right, that's pretty good. And then we'll just throw a tint on top. I was liking that blue that we did earlier, so. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's not good. There we go. All right, so we've treated this. Now, this isn't great, obviously, but you know, you spend a little bit more time at this, you'll do something that you like better. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on Save Adjustments here, and this is save the adjustments to the source image. Now, if I go into these other sizes now, you'll see that every size here has picked up except for YouTube. This is actually a leftover. This is like maybe the 5th time I've done this video, so this is a leftover from one of the ones before, and I'll show you this in a minute. So you'll see every size here except for YouTube has picked up the way we've treated the source image. I'm going to reset all of this and save adjustments, and we'll come back and we'll see that we're back to where we were. So speaking of this YouTube image, let me show you how we did this. Okay, so one way to do it is to go into each image for a specific size and replicate what you've done. But the problem with that is that you've got 1,000 images. You're going to be doing that 1,000 times. It's a bit monotonous. So let's say this nice size here, we want to make any image that's going to use this nice size somewhere in our theme look a particular way. And we'll just replicate the YouTube thing. And let's say every nice size image should look like newsprint, okay, just for the sake of argument. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new preset, give it a name that means something to us, and then we're going to check make default for size, and then save the preset. So now any image that uses the nice size, and I'll show you what I mean by that here, by going to a different image. We'll now use that preset's parameters, okay? And that works great if you're adding a new post, come in here, add an image. Let's do this one. So that's the large. Let's do the nice size here, and you'll see that that's picked up all the parameters that we set up in the image editor. So this is actually a really powerful feature, and especially if you're building your theme from scratch, or you're working at a company where you've got a designer that wants to do, like, let's make the heroes on the post pages a particular way. Without this, you would have to prepare those images, upload those images separately. You change your design 6 months down the road, you're screwed, because you're going to have to go back and change everything again. This is all non-destructive. It's all real time, so you can go in and tweak it now, 6 months, 2 years later, and not have to regenerate thumbnails, do all this other stuff. It's all real time on the fly. It's great. So let me leave the page here. One other thing that I want to show you that sort of ties into that feature. With Media Cloud, you have this tool called the Image Size Manager. Actually, let me delete this YouTube size here. So this shows you all the image sizes that you've defined, or WordPress has defined. So WordPress has this thumbnail, medium, large, and large. Those are just sort of the system defaults. The theme that we're using just sets the post thumbnail to a particular size. And then we've created these custom sizes with this image size manager, and we can add a new one here. And we can call this, whatevs. Make that 1520 by 1520 or whatever arbitrary size. We can set it to crop, and then we can the x-axis and the y-axis of the crop here. So let's set this to crop, and let's actually do a more sane, like 256 by 256. Okay, cool. So we've created this custom size. That is a crop. Let's go into our media here, and let's find an image. Let's do this face. So this face is kind of in the center, which is going to make this not... let's do this one. So if we come into our source image here and we go to focal or focus crop, and we select use faces, any crop that we do will now use the face as sort of the center of the crop, or we'll put that in focus. If we don't have any faces defined, we can use the focal point, and this will let us drag this to here. So let's use faces. We're going to save this adjustment. And then if we go to whatevs, you'll see that the face is in the crop. Now let's go back to here. I'm going to do a focal point zoom of whatever. And you'll see that we've zoomed in on the face here. And I'm just doing this to demonstrate how the face becomes the focal point of the crop. Because that face is actually not dead center. It's up and to the left a bit. But for any image size here that we're cropping, it is now dead center. So that's really cool. That's a great feature of Imgix. Dynamic image feature implements this as well. Entropy and edges, you'll have to consult the Imgix documentation, what those two do. I'll be honest, I never use them. I use faces a bit and focal point a bit for certain client sites, a lot of editorial sites, and a lot of celebrity-based image sites. It's very popular for. So one other aspect of this, hold on, if we go back to this image size thing here. So one other aspect of this is that we can actually set up the default quote style unquote for an image size directly in here. So for whatevs here, if I click on the gear icon, this is going to load up the image editor with a sample image in the center. And this is any arbitrary image. Actually, the first time you click that gear icon, if I reload the page here, it'll ask you to pick an image. So we can just pick this one. All right, so this is our whatevs. And let's just say, you know, honestly, it doesn't matter. Let's just blur this, okay? Oh, that's a little bit too much blur. All right, good. I'm just going to save that adjustment. And now any image that is displayed using the whatev size will be blurred. So come in here, we'll edit this image, and you'll see that it's blurred. And you can actually come in and override these defaults for the sizes for a particular image if it's not working out for you. So yeah, that is the image editor. It's very, very powerful. Lets you do a lot of cool stuff. It's the only plugin I know that lets you do this. Clients love it. Designers that I work with love it. And I think if you apply it to your workflow, you'll love it too. So that's it. Let me know how it goes for you. Any questions, you know, hit talk.mediacloud.press. We check that quite religiously. So any questions or problems, go ahead and open up a topic there, and we will get back to you.